Hello. So welcome to our phone photography workshop. So pleased that we've got people all around the country joining us. We've got a team of people from Port WA here in the room, but I think this is the future for the HMAA to be able to run courses and to be able to share them with all of our colleagues. So we hope you enjoy it today. We've got an hour's presentation by Dale Neill. Some of the people in the room here have actually done courses with Dale before in phone photography, and we chose phone photography because so many of us, we always have our phone with us. You might not have your fancy camera with you, and the quality of the images you can get these days is fantastic on a phone. He's amply, I'll let Dale introduce his sidekick. We've actually got Des with us today, so I'll let you introduce him. So thank you for joining us. Behind the camera, we have John Colwell, and today's effort would not be possible without John, who's a technical whiz and volunteered. He just shakes his head, but it's not true. And John and I have had a few run-throughs in advance to make sure that this will be working today. So thank you very much, John.
Well, welcome on board, everybody, and thanks, Darren, for inviting me along to help present this first hour. I should just say that I'll be doing some of the talking, but Des here is going to be doing some of the practical photography, and so that you'll be able to see what's actually happening. What's ironical about this is that Des and I met about 18 months ago out in the desert at Perkalilly, 38 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie, and here we are talking about plants and shrubs and so on, and there wasn't a plant within about 20 kilometres of where we were at Perkalilly. It was just red dust. What we're doing today is we're going to give you some tips regarding using your mobile phones. And I just said to the group that's gathered here, if you had have told me 15 years ago that I'd be taking photographs with a mobile phone as a professional photographer, I would have said you're crazy. But the quality of images coming off mobile phones and their versatility has improved dramatically. So we're keeping this incredibly simple today. We're going through the basics, and I've virtually pitched this at what I'd call late introductory to intermediate level. But we're going to show you just how simply you can get results. Now, you've all been sent a copy of the handout, so I'm just going to mention a couple of things there to start with. You should always make sure that your battery is fully charged. You don't want to get somewhere and find that your battery goes flat. And also make sure that your memory card has got enough space on it to take the photographs. You also need to make sure that the lens is clean and clear, okay? Because if there's any smudges, dirt, grime on the surface of that, of the lens, then that's going to interfere with the quality of the picture. I should just mention is that on your mobile phones, the lens is not actually exposed to the atmosphere. There's a piece of scratch-proof glass over the top of that, and that's what you need to keep clean. Finally, in that checklist, I've asked everybody to download Snapseed. Now, Snapseed is an app. It's free. It's incredibly easy to use. It doesn't come with any advertising. Now, not very many reviewers of photographic products agree on things, but there's one thing every reviewer agrees on, and that is that Snapseed is clearly the best app to use on your mobile phone, and that doesn't matter whether it's an iPhone or whether it's an Android, okay? Snapseed is the go-to app to use. We're going to touch on that today, but at some stage we'd probably like to, at a further workshop maybe, is go through and show you just some of the amazing things that Snapseed can do. So we're going to kick off there with the tips that we're talking about. And I guess in all photography, one of the most important things is, and particularly when you're doing flower and plant photography, is sharpness. And so in order to get sharp pictures...
How do you make it go louder?
Okay.
How do you make it go louder?
Check 1, 2. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I've got you.
Turn your volume up.
Can you hear me now? Does that sound any better? Check 1, 2, 3, 4.
I just started.
Now the microphone's working.
Oh, come on, people, get out of the way. Jeez, like Brown's cows.
Um,
I don't think it's anything to do with your side.
Maybe move Dale's microphone further up or something.
tell you what.
No, it's coming in loud and clear on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfectly fine here.
Perhaps turn your own volume up.
Okay, right.
I can bring him up. How's that?
Check 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you're fine.
Right, okay. So in order to get sharp pictures, the main reason you don't get sharp pictures is that somebody wobbles. So you need to steady your body down. That's the main thing. So there's a couple of different ways you can do. Now, you can go over Des and start doing a shot over here. So one of the first things to do is Des is actually standing, and if he can actually kneel and rest his elbows, brace them against something, then that means that you're turning your body into a tripod. The next thing that you can do to get sharper pictures is that when you go to shoot, you stop talking, you stop drinking your coffee, you stop eating, and you just hold your breath as you do the shot. The other thing you need to do is that as you actually press the button on the camera, either the white button on the camera or the volume button, either of those, if you punch that hard, you're going to make sure that the mobile phone moves and vibrates. So you need to actually make sure that you're just pressing it very, very gently. So Des is going to, first of all, if you could use the white button on the back of the camera there, Des.
Yep, indeed. Okay. So the other thing too is the more you have it zoomed in, many cameras have different lenses. This one's got 3. The bigger the zoom, the more the movement is accentuated. So that's one thing to be aware of. And also, and sometimes you get stuck. People do go and put their hands right out, but the further hands are, the more movement there is. So try and bring it in as close as you can to your body. I put my elbows in onto my chest. And in this instance, I won't show you the focus because that's coming next, and away I go.
So there are really 2 activation methods on the phone. There's usually a white button on the screen, that's fine. There's also usually the volume button on the camera, which Des is going to show you now. And that's actually slightly better because when you're pressing that, you've stabilized the phone. So that's will give you slightly sharper pictures.
There you go.
Now, there is a third way, and that is that you can adjust your phone to have it as voice activated.
Do you want me to demonstrate that?
Yeah, if you could.
Okay. I'll just quickly turn the settings on.
While Des is doing it, I'll just explain that the Androids like Samsung are actually more user-friendly for this particular application than the iPhones. So all I have to do with mine is just say the word shoot and it will take a photograph.
Oh.
Okay.
Or,
Right here then, I'm going to say click or snap or turn volume down. No, that's not working. I've done something wrong there.
okay.
Anyway, we won't get bogged down on that. It does do it.
Which part of settings?
It's accessibility and it's voice control, but I think because I've turned mine off, I'll just try again. Just 2 seconds.
Can you just hang on to my phone for a sec there?
2 seconds, man. I just need to.
While we're doing this, it just gives you an idea. I've put in there a URL link to comparing iPhones and Androids. And you can see here where clearly the Android works better than the iPhone in this particular regard.
So this might be operator error too. in as much as I have it on aeroplane
I
mode.
think we'd better move on.
Yep.
Okay,
We'll come back to that one, but it does
Okay.
work. I think it's
Shoot.
because I had it on airplane mode.
okay. Just hang on to the Android for a moment. Just say shoot.
Shoot. There you go.
There we
Stop
are. So you can see how easy that was. I don't have to turn anything on or off. Just say the word shoot or anything similar to that, and it will do. So, so getting something sharp is important. The next thing we have to try to do is to make sure that we get the correct exposure. And exposure is just how light or how dark it might be. Now, the inbuilt exposure meters inside mobile phones are good. They're very good. But like any phones, they can be tricked. So if you've got a dark bloom on a white cloud, the camera is going to be tricked. Or if you've got a very light bloom, like a yellow bloom on very dark green foliage, the camera will be tricked. It doesn't matter how good the camera is. So what Des is going to show you now is how to adjust the exposure. So can you just do a shot here? Just
a standard shot.
a standard shot.
Right, there's a standard shot coming right up.
Okay.
Okay.
Right now, if I want to make
Shot
that
there.
picture lighter, Des.
Okay. There's a couple of tricks here. You first of all have to just click on the focus point, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then you get a little sun icon there, and you move it up. Look at that, way overexposed. Okay, and we'll take that photo just to demonstrate it. And alternatively, if you I'm onto video now. It's not what I want. I don't click the wrong button. And if I go down, see how dark it gets. Now that's very useful. For those that use SLRs and mirrorless cameras, that's the equivalent to exposure compensation. So we can just see those photos now. The difference, that's the darker one. That's the lighter one. There's another lighter one, and that's the one that the camera automatically did, which is probably the best of the three in this instance. But it does allow you to fine tune things, particularly if you've got things that are backlit or whatever that can upset the exposure on the camera.
So getting the sharpness right and getting the exposure right are two of the absolute fundamentals. The third factor is getting the color right. We're not going to worry about that here because 9 times out of 10, the camera will get the color pretty right, unless you're using some strange light source like a fluorescent light or a sodium vapor light or something like that. Okay, let's move on. And we want to talk about number 3 on your tips, and that is simplifying the image. So by simplifying, quite often my students will bring me back holiday photographs from overseas, and they'll show me what I call busy photographs. So it'll be a scene somewhere in a street or across a river. And I say to them, what are you trying to show me? And they say, everything. Well, when you try that, you actually show me nothing. So one of my tips is try to compose an image that's only got 3 elements in it. If you were an artist, you start off with a blank canvas and you paint, and you just put on there the things that you want. In photography, you start off with a full canvas and you've got to eliminate things. So you need to change your position or zoom in or zoom out or go closer or further away in order to eliminate the unwanted things. So by 3 elements, what I'm saying is you may show the bloom, the stem that it's growing on, and a clear blue sky, nothing else. No lamp posts, no telephone poles, no pizza shops in the background. All we want to see is those 3 elements. So they come out clean and simple. So I'm just going to ask Des, I'm not going to make it too easy for him. I'm going to turn this around a bit.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to see, we're inside a lounge room here, and there's stuff everywhere along the walls and so on. So I'm going to ask Des to see if he can compose something here and get a shot where we've only got 3 elements in the picture.
down to a little bit of green there, the roof. Not a great shot, but given everything that we've got here. So that's kind of simplified it significantly. Now I could move it back and get more of the foliage. The problem here is that the TV will come into it, but that's sort of what Dale's talking about.
So when you're moving around in a garden area, even like it's in a horticulture or garden centre, there's going to be stuff everywhere. And you need to be able to try to simplify the image. So always just think of that number 3 in the back of your mind and see if you can only have 3 elements in the image, and you're going to find that your images are going to be far more appealing and far simpler to interpret as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go on to number 4, and that's varying the camera height. And could we actually have a change of talent, change of flower? Thanks. So Darren's going to go into the neighbour's garden and get some more flowers. Thank you very much. So what we're talking about here is, by the way, these flowers here, what are they, Darren? Right. Sorry, what are they, Sabrina?
Lysianthus.
Lysianthus. So they're a very, very dark colour, which is quite amazing. Now, what I'm talking about is if you take every shot that you take on your mobile phone from the same height, it'll end up being boring, boring, boring. Okay. So what we're talking about is 3 heights. That is a worm's eye view, a WEV, an eye level shot, and a bird's eye view. Now, so Des is going to start off here, pretending he's a worm, getting down low. And Des, when you do this, if you could shoot the same bloom each time.
Yep.
So that we can see this.
Hang on, I'll turn that around. So
now, while Des is doing this, one of the advantages in doing a worm's eye view, most of the time, you've got a great backdrop in the blue sky. So that's really good. The blue sky always looks good for flower photography, unless, of course, you've got a blue flower, in which case it might blend in a little bit. So Des has done his
there's
worm's
just a
eye
very
view
simple
shot.
one. Very similar to what we did before. And in fact, one thing I meant to mention earlier, sometimes if you've got someone else with you and you really want to simplify a background, just a bit of white cardboard up in the background.
Right, now if we can do the same bloom at eye level, thanks, Des.
Yep.
And look, sometimes, you know, if you're not capable of getting down really low, one of the little tricks you can use is to actually just put your camera down low. You don't have to get down low yourself, and click and just generally aim your camera, and you'd be amazed how good you become
more
at
of
that.
an eye level view.
Right. And now if we could do the bird's eye view, thanks. And the other thing I'd say is that if you're actually doing something on a particular bloom like the Lysianthus, learned something new here, then by having different views of that, you're showing different aspects of it as well. And that's going to be helpful in any descriptions that you're doing.
Okay, so there we have the bird's eye view.
Can you just run through those 3?
Yeah. So there's the bird's eye view, the normal view that you would get at height. I mean, it's not particularly creative, but gives you an idea. And the worm's eye view. So
fantastic.
Always important to consider changing compositions, whether it be landscape photography or flowers, you know.
Now, what you would have also noticed in those 3 shots that Des just did, the 3 of them were sharp and the 3 of them were well exposed, and the sharpness comes from Des because he's holding the camera steady, but that exposure is coming from the mobile phone. It's done that automatically. It's compensated for the fact that it is dark. I don't know whether the colour is super accurate, but that's
Well,
another point.
on the camera it looks different to what you're getting on this screen.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. How are your knees, Des? Right.
Sore. That's why I'm not a gardener.
Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to mention is just varying the camera distance, or what I call the Cecil B. DeMille approach.
I'm just going to take a couple of photos while you talk.
Yeah. So back in the early days of photography, the very early days, and I was talking to Nick here earlier on, he said that he started off as a cadet photographer on an English newspaper and using a big view camera. And that was the way that I started off as well. And back in those days, they didn't used to have zoom lenses. Zoom lenses are a relatively modern invention. So in order to do a shot with a telephoto lens or a wide angle lens, you either had to screw one lens off and screw another lens on. Now with the zoom came the ability to stand back and just to zoom in. Photographers became lazy. But Cecil B. DeMille, he pioneered this idea of doing the three shots, the wide angle shot, the medium shot, and the close-up. And that means moving your feet, right? The best zoom you've got are your legs. Now, what it does is this. Some people, once again, on holidays, they will go through and they'll take every flower shot from the same distance from 1.25 meters away. Boring, boring, boring after a while. By doing an establishment shot, you're showing where that garden bed is in relation to the buildings around it and the sheds and the house and the cars and everything else. So you're establishing where it is. Then the medium shot will show that particular bed of flowers where there might be, I don't know, 20 or 30 flowers in there. And then the close-up is when you go in, you get up as close as you can and you're showing a single bloom. You can see the other flowers there in the background, but what you're doing is you're telling a story. You've got a narrative going, and that's really important. Okay, so usually publishers, they go for the money shot, which is the close-up of the bloom. But every now and then having an establishment shot is important. So
we'll just show you an example of an establishment shot for what we're doing today. Is that one there. And look, as I said, the colour that's coming up on the TV is quite different to what we have on the
So you can see from Des's shot there, that's really good. You can see, look,
When you
we're
get
in
the
Aaron's lounge room, people gathered around, etc. You can see the bunch of flowers, tiny part of that. Okay.
okay, so this is a bit busy, this shot, unfortunately, but that then we come in closer to look at the bouquet of flowers or the vase of flowers. I would normally have got in a bit closer with the vase, but there's lots of shiny legs and khaki shorts in the background from where I'm sitting, so I just did that one. And then that would be the hero shot. Okay. So that gives you the idea of the principles, even though it's a bit compromised because of where we are.
And can I just say, we're talking about flowers and plants here this afternoon, but that principle of wide angle, medium shot, close up, you can apply that to other subjects, like a person, right, that you are photographing, or a motor vehicle for that matter, an establishment shot, medium shot, close up of the hubcap or the steering wheel, something else. So you can apply that principle to a whole range of subjects. Okay, righto, down to number 6. And we've got macros for impact and detail. Now, I'm just going to get a tiny bit technical just for a second, and that is quite often people talk about taking a macro shot, and really what they're doing is they're taking a close-up or an extreme close-up. So a true macro is when you get one-to-one reproduction. So if that bud is 1 centimetre wide, it's 1 centimetre wide on your sensor, and that is actually impossible on a mobile phone. So what it really means is with mobile phones, we are doing close-ups or extreme close-ups. Now, there's a very simple principle here, and that's this, that whatever you're doing, whatever phone you're using, whatever make or model, you need to work out exactly how close can you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop down that page of writing, And I'm just going to get Des on the standard lens because Des is using a camera with 3 forward lenses, but just using the standard lens, just how close can you go with that and keep it the writing sharp?
Yep.
So,
And I know with this lens, the 1 and 2.5, it's actually about 6 inches. So if we can, you're able to get in there, to see that. So it's still close, still clear. Now it's getting blurry. So it's actually about 3 inches.
okay, so you can see now
About
that
7
there.
centimeters.
Yeah, no, you're about 6 inches there. You're
Yeah,
about
okay,
right.
yeah.
So you need to practice with your phone and you need to work out what that distance is. It'll be different for every camera, for every mobile phone camera. You need to know what that is because if it's the closest you can go 6 inches or, 15 centimeters, it's no good going into 3 centimeters. It just won't work. Okay.
And with the 2.5 lens, it's on this camera, it's about the same. Whereas the 0.5 lens, I can actually get a lot closer, but it's a lot wider view as well. So I'm only 5, very close there. But you see all the shadow that's getting in on it, but you can get really close with a wide angle.
I'm just going to segue a little bit here. Des has got a phone with 3 forward lenses. My Samsung's only got 1. But the next phone that I buy will have 3 forward lenses in it. If you're into the business of what you're into, flowers and plants, please, it's a good investment for you. Make sure you buy a phone that's got multiple forward-facing lenses. It's really going to pay big dividends for you in the long term. So for the little bit of extra that you
Can I
pay.
briefly mention a little accessory?
We are, yep.
You've often may have seen that you can get different lenses for your cameras. Now, I actually brought along my old iPhone and Dale's Galaxy that's only got 1 lens, and these lenses work quite well on them. You've got a macro lens that you can put on, and the way it goes on is really quite simple. And this kit I got off online, Strumann's. There's a lot around, and it was all of about $120. So it wasn't really dear for 3 lenses. It's got a bird's eye view, wide angle, and a macro. So you just, the way you put it on, this is actually the fisheye lens. Oh yeah, I've got the wrong phone, but I've got the wrong lens on, but to show you,
the camera. Okay, so while Des doing this kit, it costs about $120 for 3 lenses.
Yeah, I'm just going.
It will allow you to get a greater magnification, but you do lose something in what they call spherical aberration. So around the edges won't be quite as sharp, especially if they roll away under the lounge. Most of the time, if you'd like to get that closer.
Can I turn that off self-remote?
What you're going to do?
That's scary.
Okay,
So just get the camera set up. And you can see I've just gone and screwed the lens on. And then all you do there is you pop it over the top, and I line it up. I can actually see, I don't know whether you can get that in the camera, but I can see the lens there. So when I get here, whoops, phone app, Dale. It's turned off. Tap something, so yeah. So with that, I can get him really nice and close. Are you able to getting that? Look at that, how close I am with that, okay? Yep.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, oops, hang on.
So when you go in, the closer that you go, there's another photographic principle that comes in here. The closer that you go, the smaller is your depth of field. So the zone of sharpness is diminishing. So even though you're getting closer, things in the foreground
that compares with this one,
and things in the background are going out of focus.
That's as close as we can get. So there's, do you want to just show those? The first couple are out of the, probably a bit of movement in them.
Right, I'll go and find those.
And what I find with those is that I'd probably have one of those little gorilla tripods, because when you get in really close like that, every tiny little bit you get movement. But it does say if you've got insects or really small plants, they're not a bad option. You're not going to be able to blow them up and print
Can
them
you
up
see
to
that,
16
John?
by 12.
Can you see that, or do I need to bring that closer? Okay.
You're right.
Right. You can see here how close John has got. Now, gardening gurus, is that yellow bit, are they the stamen? Are they?
Yeah.
On top of the anthers or,
Those little yellow things in the middle?
oh, yeah, that's the same.
Right, okay. Right, so you can see they're sharp, but the petals around the outside are now blurry. So this is this limited depth of field. So that although we got in very close, that's become smaller. And that's as close as we could get without that additional lens. So having those ancillary lenses, few pluses, few minuses when you go to use them.
Gives you a
It'd
little
be
bit.
good for
of-
insects though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. You can get in with this set, you can get in really close.
Yeah.
And of course, you can buy individual lenses that have different focal lengths.
Right.
But I just got this as a kit to see how it
Yeah.
would work.
Yeah.
What I did find, for example, I'd probably put the wide angle lens on the iPhone 12 with the 3 lenses
Yeah.
and use this, and that way I've got a little bit more flexibility with depth of field.
How do you know which lens is what though?
When you set it on the back there, if you go into your camera,
Yep.
camera settings,
Yep.
very quickly. So this is-
This, I think other people would be interested because
Yeah,
I've got
okay.
no idea.
Okay, so we're going to go up here. So with most people I think here have got iPhones. So we're looking there. See this point here? There's a 0.5, a 1 and a 2. There's there's a 0.5,
Yeah.
a 1 and a 2. Okay. On the back, there's 3 lenses. Each one of those is a different lens. So if you go 0.5, look at that. Wide angle. Okay. 1 brings it in closer. 2 is zoomed. Okay, Okay, so that's your 3 lenses. So you've probably got an SLR with 3 lenses and you have to change lenses every time. Well, you don't have to do that. Okay.
Well, that accessory, this to be advertised, this is not every week. We don't advertise them anymore.
No.
Because the I11 and the I12.
Yeah.
Render them unnecessary.
In my opinion, I think so. Yeah, and the quality of the lenses inbuilt in the phones is higher in optical quality than these ancillary
If you
lenses.
don't want to go back to a bag full of different lenses.
No.
That just gives you the flexibility because they're easy to
Yeah.
carry around. You've always got
But
one. I just will point out one other thing very quickly. When you do go in with these, you can actually hold it down and you can zoom in even more. But see how I've done the zooming? Look at that. And you go right up to 10 times. Okay,
Wow.
we go back. But it's not a proper zoom lens. That's not what they call optical zoom. For the 0.5, 0.5, 1 and 2, in this instance is native to the camera lens. That's what's coming through the camera lens. When you do start doing that, the more you zoom in, the image will deteriorate. It generally looks pretty good on Facebook photos,
Right.
but you go to print it up, and if you've zoomed it up at about 8 times, it's going to degenerate pretty quickly. So just a little tip there.
So Sabrina, you weren't aware of how to change from one lens to the other.
No, I had no idea at all.
Fantastic.
You've learned something.
Des, this has been worthwhile coming here this
I
afternoon.
can say to everybody, I taught Sabrina
Something.
something.
Right. Okay. We're going to go on to number 7, and this is really not so much technical. This is about graphic design. And I'm going to talk to you about what we call separation techniques. And when I'm teaching people, I always say in every photograph, you should be identifying a hero. Okay, the person, it might be the vehicle. In this case, it'll be a particular flower or plant. You need to have in your mind clearly that that is the hero. Now, what you need to do is to separate your hero from the rest of the picture. And there are 3 techniques that you can use. They are focus and color and tone. So these are the design techniques. So by focus, we simply mean that you want to have the subject sharp and the background blurry. Now, we have got a little problem here in that
Just see.
with mobile phones, the sensor is so small that virtually everything is sharp. So one of the ways that you can make the background blurry is by keeping the subject as far away from the background as possible. All right.
Or get as close as you can to the subject.
That's right.
Mm.
And the other thing to do would be using what we call the portrait lens on a multiple lens camera. So by using the portrait lens, it means that you will throw the background further out of focus.
Okay, and I'm just demonstrating with this one here. I went into the big zoom. I got as close as I could. Now, if the leaves of the flower or the background was further away, they'd get more blurry. And later on, Dale's going to show a couple of shots I did earlier in the week. But you can still see, if you look at that, you should be able to see that the leaves in the background are starting to get a bit softer. So it's not quite like what you'd get on a stopped up SLR, where you can get a really soft background. And in fact, that can be a problem at times. But if you get more separation with the background, and we'll show you some shots later, you can still get quite a nice soft background. Now I'm going to demonstrate portrait mode, because you mentioned that.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to jump ahead of you. So on portrait mode, it's just generally designed for photos of people. So here's a handsome chap. We're going to... Okay, so that one there's of a person. So we look at Dale and see how the background's relatively soft. Later on, we'll show you how to adjust that. With the Galaxy and smartphones these days in portrait mode, you can actually go in and there's a little slider and you can actually soften the background even more, depending upon how you want. I'm not going to show you that now, but see, it is quite nice and soft. And isn't that a handsome looking chap, you know?
Thank you,
Now, but so for flowers, very often the bigger the better, to be quite honest, but I'm going to try and take one here and we'll just see how we go. That one's very close to other subjects. We'll just see what we can do here. Yeah, okay, we'll try this one here.
Can I get you to try to shoot through some stems to get a bloom, if you could? You with me?
Can I just, that's going to be a bit more difficult with portrait. I haven't been doing that with portrait. You're throwing me a left-hand curveball there, Dale.
So just bear in mind what we're doing here is we're trying to actually separate the hero from the background.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here, when you're looking at it, you put it onto portrait mode.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's more for people, but it's very good for other things. I'm waiting for things to settle because it will tend to focus that. But see how it's saying move further away? Yeah. Keep moving further away. I'm hoping, there we go. Okay. Now, there's the photo. And whoops, that's not very clear. I'll do that again. That was probably movement because I was talking while I was doing it. We will just try that again. I need to lean up on the tripod, I think. It's not going to help, John. Move further away.
By the way, while Des is doing this, bear in mind we're in a nice lounge room, there's no breeze. Okay. If we were outside shooting and there was a breeze, we'd be faced with the swaying of the blooms as well.
So that's the photo there. It's reasonably sharp of the subject and the background, particularly the floor, you'll see, and everything is quite blurred. Now, what I can do is I can easily go into edit, and this is for later, this is more advanced. I click on up the top there. Who here uses a normal camera where you adjust your aperture? The aperture. Yeah. Okay, f4.5, that's what the photo is taken at. But I can click on that, and down the bottom, you'll see it's showing f.5. Look what happens if I slide along to f2.8. Or if I go all the way, look at that, no blur, apart from the native blur from the lens. So you can adjust it as you want. So you might say, yeah, I want that really soft. I hate that personally, but that would be, you know, something that you can do there. So that's how you use portrait mode, but you do have to get further back. And what I have been finding is, and we'll talk about this later, when I do editing, you find you do have to crop it quite a bit. You do have to go in, so you can't blow it up super big, but you'll be surprised at the results that you can still get because they're a very small sensor, but they're very efficient. So I've had some surprising results
Yes,
with
we
it.
better move on. We're running out of time. So we're talking about principles of separation, and the second one is separating through colour. And that simply means that if you had, let's say, a yellow bloom, you're trying to put that against a blue sky, a red flower against a blue sky or a white cloud. So can you?
I was just going to grab a white bit of cardboard.
Good on you. Right. So that's a very, very basic principle. The other thing is if you're going to submit something for publication, quite often the editor will want something on a white background.
So maybe we just hold that about there.
Do you want me to hold that for you?
I'll hold it.
Yeah, oh,
Okay.
or even just there, over towards you a little bit, just there, and square it up a little bit so the light's the same. And I'm just going to take this off. I'm just going to take this off portrait mode. Put the camera back on. I'm going to go into normal.
So as mentioned before, the blue sky, and we get lots of blue skies in WA, the blue sky is going to be a natural backdrop, which is going to help
So
with most
thanks,
flowers.
Darren. That's terrific. So that gives you an idea there. As I said, the colours look different to what's on the phone. Maybe if I tilt it around, does that work better?
It's blue.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, you
No,
can
no,
see
that-
that's an easy way of, you know, these things you can cut around, just a bit of cardboard. We'll show you a couple of other tricks later.
Okay. The final method of separation is what we call by tone. And that simply means that the hero is there's more light on the hero than the background, or there's more light on the background. So as soon as you vary that, it's a little bit like a person stepping out of a doorway into the sunlight. They're in sunlight and the background isn't. So what we're going to do here is, did you grab a little light? Yeah. Is we're going to show you a photograph. Trying to work out whether. This is going to take a shot.
Which one would you like to do? That one there? This one here?
Yeah, no, this one here.
This one here is
This one
in
here is
front of
good.
the camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is going to take a shot where the tone of the flower is the same as the tone on the background. In other words, there's basically the same amount of light.
Still not a bad shot, but
Okay.
not a
Now,
bad shot.
what we're going to do now is we're going to throw extra light onto the hero.
We can even do it from the back.
And it should now be more separated from the background.
So there's that one there. Pity the colour's not quite right.
Turn the light off.
Turn the light off, yeah. And that one. So that one's clearly a bit duller, whereas that one pops more.
Now,
Okay.
that doesn't mean that you've got to carry one of those lights around with you. It simply means that you become observant. And if you see a little shaft of light coming through into your garden and it's lighting up a bloom, look where it's lighting it up, because that's being separated through tone.
And sometimes, can I say sometimes, don't always look for light that's filling from behind and soft light in that direction. Sometimes backlighting or lighting from the side. Dale just shot that from the side. We sometimes do things when we're having a bit of a dress rehearsal yesterday or the day before, we put the light behind and it gave quite a different effect. So don't be afraid to experiment with that sort of thing.
Okay, right, we're moving along here and we're talking about using light reflectors. Can I just mention here that George Eastman, the founder of the Kodak company, he said something like, understand light, study light, love light, and you will know the secret of photography. So it is about lighting, and the word photography literally means writing with light. So you need to become an observer of light. So when you go into your garden, you're thinking about what fertilizer you put on, have a look at it now and say, where is the light best in my garden? What flowers is it showing up best? So one of the simple things you can do is using just a simple reflector like that you can use to bounce light around. Now that's just a piece of card with some
Do the same thing.
alfoil off the lamb roast from last night. Okay, and
Okay, so I've
if
taken
you-
one.
if you have a look at these flowers here, and we've got some overhead lights, and if we just come in here, you can see
Bring it up closer to that one there. Dale.
Which one?
I photographed this one, the same
Okay.
one we did earlier.
Right, so I'm going to come in here and it's a little bit like playing billiards or snooker with light. I'm trying to bounce that light from above onto
That's it, just hold it there.
that light.
Right, now we'll show you the difference between those couple of shots. So there's that one there, and that's the earlier one. So that one doesn't have, it's not as well lit. It's probably a bit richer, but what I would have done is adjusted the colour, the exposure. But can you see that the difference, even with that one, those two were taken with a reflector and that one wasn't. So you get more detail. It's if you haven't got another light, that's not a bad little way of adding to it.
The light inside this room here is very general, right? The light going around. If we were actually outside, we'd be getting much, much stronger sunlight, and this would be more effective. As a matter of interest, a reflector like this could actually bounce light from an open doorway or window right across a room and onto flowers in the room. So it's possible that you can, just by using that, you can bounce light around the room. So and the great
Can I just suggest that instead of that, you know those things you have in the car to keep the sun out, they're brilliant.
they are.
Yeah. And the other thing too, that because I've done a bit of desktop table photography, I use those, and you can actually be very deliberate where you get the highlights. So by moving it around, when you've got a sharper light source, you can actually control the light really well. So you might have a drop of dew, and you might want that just lit up a little bit. I've got a series of those at home. Some of them are quite small, and I can go in there and just tweak it and just shine it, and it'll make the dew pop.
And where's our,
It's very simple techniques.
What are you looking?
where did our little fold out thing go, Des?
Oh, there it is over there, Dave.
Oh yeah, okay, good. So this is something, this is just one of those old annual planners, but on the other side of that is just a, it's plain white. But what it means is because it's hinged, if you were to go outside and pop that around a plant, it means that sunlight's going to come in and bounce off those surfaces and envelop that plant inside that light. And also it's going to protect it a bit from the wind as well. So one of my ex-colleagues and students, she was a food designer for motion picture films, and she built up a whole series of these that she would use to light the food. So if you had a plate of food on the table, she would simply pop that around that and use one artificial light, and that would bounce light around the product. So that's very, very simple. We've shown you that tiny little light.
Have lights behind you.
And this one here is called Amaran. And look, you can buy those from photographic shops. They're maybe around about $70 or $80 or something like that. You can use a torch for that matter, but that is better.
Turn it on.
And you can see here that, you know, in terms of lighting faces, it's very good for lighting faces, but also it's good enough if you're in a dark environment to light things outside as well. So the other thing by using that, if it's very late in the day and you use that, by shining that on the plant, your shutter speed is going to go higher in the mobile phone and the picture will be sharper as well as being better lit.
And this is a little tool. If we get a chance, I took a couple of photos. I know you're more into probably more natural type photography, but sometimes if you're doing illustrations or putting together material where you just want a white background or a consistent background, I used basically what Dale had here and put one reflected on top. This is called a little nano light, and they are amazing. We don't sell these incidentally, but we've discovered them. I had a great big one. They're not that expensive and they're adjustable, and you've got all sorts of different effects you can get with them. So if you find yourself wanting to do stuff inside, just white cardboard, box it all up, play around with the lighting, and you can get nice clean white white backgrounds with it all. So there you go, a little nano light.
A pavo light, yeah.
Okay, 20 minutes to go.
Right, okay. Can I just show, if you switch that off, thanks, Des.
I'm trying.
Hold it down here. These are, Des only went out yesterday, or the day before,
Oh, that I took
Thursday night, and shot a series of shots on his mobile phone. John, can you see that okay there?
Yeah.
Lovely. I'm just going to flick through these and it'll just show you the quality that we're getting. But I want you to look in particular at the quality of lighting. So you can see that the lighting is soft and even over there. And also the quality of the colour on the back of this mobile phone is good.
That was shot on Wednesday in the afternoon when the clouds cleared, and was shot with a diffuser. Sorry, can Dale hold that one up? Sorry, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, tilt it a bit more towards me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So see how it's quite soft, the light on it.
Yeah.
All I did was I've got a bit of I'll show you later, a little umbrella type thing, and I popped that over and it just softened the light and got rid of all of the glare on the orange petals. That's another one taken inside with the nano light. All I had there was black cardboard, and I just moved the nano light around to get where I wanted it.
And can you see there the importance of having that black background? It means the detail in the rose is really shining out.
That shows the depth of field that we were talking about, and the separation. If you have a look, that was taken down at Burswood on Wednesday as well. I got up close to the flowers, and the yellow flowers in the background were probably 2 meters away. So with that lens, you were still getting a soft background.
Now, did you adjust that softness after you shot, or was that just as you shot it?
No, I didn't adjust. That's as I shot it. What
So-
I did do in Snapseed was that I brought the highlights down because I didn't have my scrim, and the purple flowers were looking a little bit blown out.
So look, there's a really, really good example of a photograph where Des has thrown the background out of focus by using probably the
Natural.
portrait.
Yep. No, I didn't use
Just
the
the
portrait.
ordinary lens.
I prefer using the ordinary lens.
So that's a really good example of that. And the yellow flowers are blurred, the purple flowers are sharp. And ditto there as well.
The object of that one, if you have a look, I have cropped it, but there was a flower in the foreground. This flower here is, I focused, and I'll show you how to lock focus in a little bit using the point. I hit the point there to focus on that. So things in the background and the flowers in the foreground were out of focus. Okay. And you can do that by locking focus, which is pointing and holding it down.
I'm just looking at this shot here, and the detail in this is really quite fantastic. The stamen and all those little hairs around the stamen are all pin sharp.
And that was also taken with the native lens. There's only a couple of shots here with the portrait lens. And that was, I controlled that by getting in and out and getting as close as I could. Not as good as an SLR, but you can still achieve those results.
Okay. We'll just skip over these couple here.
That was taken with portrait mode.
Now, a good example here of separation through colour. Okay, so yellow flower, green background. And
that was also portrait mode, but different level, just as I've demonstrated earlier.
Fantastic. And this is going in extremely close.
Edited in Snapseed to black and white. It was that was just a frangipanning panning, and I just zoomed in, and it shows you can zoom in quite a way, and I just converted it to black and white because I like the artistic effect. And there's the same frangipanning.
And once again, you can see here that light subject on a dark background, but you can see the frangipani blooms are really standing out against the green background.
Yeah.
And also we've got the Cecil B. DeMille approach too, the establishing shot, the close-up, and then the extreme close-up.
Yeah.
Okay, righto, good. Where did my secret notes go, Liz?
Down here.
I don't know. Okay. Okay, reflectors, artificial light sources. Okay, we've done tap and focus using exposure adjustment.
Can I just very quickly show people that? Because we did that for the exposure adjustment, but just very quickly, when you when you focus on something, if you tap, it will focus on that point, and that's then when you can adjust it. So what we were doing, you're actually doing your focus and your exposure at once. But if you want to lock focus, you hold it down and it comes up with automatic focus lock. And that way you can take multiple photos and you don't have to refocus. Whereas if you just use the single tap, you have to refocus each time. That lock focus is very handy when you want things in the background and foreground to both be out of focus, because otherwise if there's things moving, the cameras will follow them and it may not stay in that spot. So tap or tap and hold to lock.
Now, the next one, this says transillumination, is when you get out your Ouija boards. I've been teaching this principle of transillumination for maybe 20 years. Hardly anybody does it, but I'm an absolute disciple of it. It's an extremely simple principle, but the amount of detail you get is increased incredibly. So Des went out a few minutes ago and grabbed some leaves out of the garden. Where did you put your leaves?
Yeah, that probably grabs one here, that light's probably the best one.
So
a little light.
let's just talk about light for a minute. Light can either fall onto the subject or it can pass through the back of the subject, right? And we've all seen those shots of the girl walking along the beach with backlit where the light's coming through her dress. That's transillumination. But when you use that with plants, first of all, the structure of the plant has to be able for light to pass through it. So first of all, what we're going to do is show this with light falling on the subject.
Okay, you able to see that there? And I'll bring it over, but there's.
Oh, that's not very good on my shirt, is it?
Right, no, that's okay. We're still demonstrating that point.
So just have a look at that, the amount of detail that you're getting on that leaf there.
Okay.
Okay, now keep watching now as I turn the light around and bring the light around to shine through the back of the leaf, and look at how much more.
Lower it down and tilt it up. That's it. Just that's it. Just like that. Hold it still.
Right.
That's it.
How close can you go in there?
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. So now the amount of detail that you're getting is increased enormously. You can
take it again.
You can see all the structure of the the web structure of the plant and the branches coming off.
I've clicked the wrong thing. Hold it there.
Right.
Just want to bring it up.
Now, I'm not suggesting for a moment that you carry one of these lights around. You simply use the sun. So any palms normally suit themselves to this. So instead of just looking at the light coming off the palms, go around behind the back of the palm so that the sun is coming through the palm.
So you get a lot more detail, and it's quite different. That didn't. Yesterday when we did it in the bright sun, it really did pop.
Can you zoom in on that at all? Just zoom in on that.
No.
No, sorry, not you, John. I meant Des. Yeah. So look at the amount of detail you're getting there now. Now you can never ever get that with reflected light. Okay. So it's only with transmitted light that you're getting that. So you can also use that besides on leaves, you can also use it on plants or on petals or anything that's got a slightly translucent characteristic about it, even fronds and little bits of wispy hairs and so on coming off that. Not only do you get more detail, but artistically they start to become attractive as well. Transillumination, it's good fun. Okay.
We've done an hour, but we'll be running for 15 more minutes. So you're going to keep, yeah.
Okay, right. We'll see if we can hurry up a little bit here. Okay. Using light transillumination, we've done that. Look, number 12, I just mentioned briefly, to incorporate people every now and again. People populate the earth. If you're producing a whole series of photographs for an article in a magazine, to have all of them and know people, to me, you're just entering into that boring category. So every now and then pop somebody in, somebody who's integral to the story. And so Darren and I used to work for a magazine together. Darren did the writing and I did the photographs. I don't remember whether we actually incorporated people in those photographs.
No,
I don't think we did. No, and I don't think we were allowed to from memory. I'm not sure, but I would encourage you to bring people in every now and then. Okay, let's move along.
I just say, when you're looking through a box of photographs and through albums, you're very short shift to those with no people.
Yeah,
When you're looking for people all the time.
absolutely. No, I agree. I agree, Nick. Okay, now I've got here, use design to create a hero in each image. Now, I'm just going to mention a couple of things very briefly. In terms of creating that hero, we've mentioned the ways of separation, but the other thing to do is to think of a leading line that's coming into the picture. And that could be the stem of a plant that's leading in. The bottom left-hand corner is a good place for that to lead in from. Simplicity is always going to help you out. If you've got a busy picture, it won't be as strong as something that's very simple. We've mentioned the built-in lenses, and I'm now going to mention number 15 is reading the metadata. Now, the metadata, when you go click, your camera records the aperture, the shutter speed, the ISO that you used. It will measure the size of the image, how many pixels and the length and breadth. If you've got your GPS turned on, it'll also measure the physical data of where you're located. It'll measure all of that. Now, most people don't want to see that unless there's a problem with your photographs. So occasionally I'll get people sending me their photographs and they'll say, Dale, all my photographs are blurry, what's wrong? I'll look at their metadata and I'll say, did you know that you took all these photographs on 1/4 of a second and you were wobbling? You need to get your shutter speed up at least to a 50th or a 60th of a second. So in order to get the metadata, we're not going to go through that now. Des and I did it the other day. You need to do a tiny bit of research to find that. It's easier on an Android than it is on an iPhone, but you can actually find that metadata.
It's relatively easy, but you have 2 steps to do with the iPhone.
Yeah.
There's a Samsung, that's one you just click on and it's there.
So if you find there's a problem with your images, you need to go and look at the metadata. Then you can send them to somebody like myself or Des, and we can.
Neil, if you've downloaded them to the computer,
Yep.
you can just use an exit viewer.
That's right.
Exactly right. And with the iPhone, all you do is you save it. You share and save to a file, and then you open the file up and it's there.
File
Whereas a
information.
Samsung, you just hit on them.
John, good tip. Yeah, and that's probably easier by putting it into your computer. Down to number 16, just a couple of little tips regarding effects that you can use. Sometimes a plant or petals will look better if they've got some sparkles of moisture on them, because the sunlight will hit those and break into the spectrum. So using one of those little atomizers that you use for ironing and so on, and just spraying lightly on the leaves will also be helpful. If you want to attract bees and other insects, you can actually make up a little solution with some sugar in it. And if you spray that on, that will attract the bees around in particular, if you want those in the photograph. Now, number 17 is live mode. And Des, I'll let you explain what that is.
Look, very often people with cameras will shoot sequentially, or what we used to call it in the old days, with the old, number of shots at once.
Time lapse.
Sorry? Time lapse?
Oh,
burst mode.
Yeah.
With the iPhone, and I assume the Galaxy, they've got a thing called live mode. You can shoot in burst, but often you don't want to do that. Now, I was really perplexed when I first got my iPhone, because it would do this and I'd see about a second of my dog walking, and I was thinking, hang on, what happened? And it was live mode. What happens is it takes about 10 frames, and it's actually pretty good, because once you hit it, you can then quickly go in and you can choose one of those 10 photos that are taken very quickly, and choose that as the hero shot. The way you do it is on your camera, up here, that little symbol there is live mode. I have it turned off. If I turn it on, it's on live. If I take a photo now, I'm just going to take one here. That's in live mode. So that will have taken a series of shots there. Hang on, I need to do that again. It didn't seem to.
This is particularly good if you've got insects moving in the picture,
Ah,
because in live mode, it'll record 20,
So-
30, 40 pictures.
Yeah, so all you do is you go into edit and you go in, see the little live mode button there. And now I can scroll along and see how it's moving. That's the amount of movement that I had in taking that shot. And I say, okay, I want that photo there. It says make key photo, boom, done. And then that's the one photo that you keep. Okay, pretty easy.
Quite often, if you've got insects, if you've got, as I said, insects around, it's very, very hard to just say, I want that bee just there and go click. That's really difficult.
That's
But
not
if in live mode, it means that you're going to record the bee going through the image, and then you can pick that shot out.
See, live.
Yeah.
That's it there. Good to have it off. When you want to this particular bit of movement of the breeze, what have you, you'll end up with two, and you might find one might be sharper than the others.
So you delete the ones you don't want.
Yeah, you just make one your hero shot. So you go into edit, hit the same icon, scroll along to the photo you want, and then click make hero. That's it.
Thank you.
Des, I wouldn't mind showing the diffuser. And so we're inside a lounge room, but we could be outside in the Aussie sun, and the Aussie sun is often too bright and contrasty. So
I brought two along.
try to imagine that this is the Aussie sun. So look at the flowers there. And so what we'd encourage you to do is to use a diffuser. Now, last night I sat down and I watched ABC's Gardening Australia, and I noticed that a lot of the gardens were in bright contrasty light, but the lighting on all the presenters' faces is very soft and diffuse. So they're either using a diffuser or they're using fill light from the front or a reflector. Yeah. So, but you'll notice that not once last night did I see any presenter standing in the sun. Okay. Standing in the shade, yes, but not in the sun. So I want you to imagine that this is the sun.
Okay.
Watch this here.
Oh, okay, I was just going to say two things. You don't need to buy anything fancy. You've got lots of this stuff lying around. Bit of light cloth.
What about the brolly?
Yep, I've got that. And I just made up a square there, and I just gaffer tape it together, and easy as a square. But these aren't very expensive, and
Well, that's bad luck.
can I just get out and move?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So might need to come over this side, Dale. Put it on. Whoops, without. Maybe on that one there. With
On that one there, right.
Okay, so it's quite bright. Now,
Just bring the edge of it down.
yeah,
That's it.
is that working there?
Oh, beautifully. Look at that. Yeah, no, that's good. Can you see that, John?
Yeah, and if I pull more.
Yeah.
So that's,
No, it's okay.
Or
Yeah.
we can do it from here.
yeah. Now remember that the sun is going to be infinitely brighter than this little light. So a brolly like this, or Des's
My improvised scrim.
his bed sheet over there, with the plastic poly pipe, is also a good little setup.
And that's what I used when it was bright
we've
sunlight.
got 5
earlier in the
minutes
week.
left. I think we should talk about Snapseed.
Right. Okay. Look, I'm a Snapseed fan, so is Des. It's a miracle app. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up one of Des's photographs here,
You're going to lead this one.
and I will, look, we'll just,
Come on, yeah.
whereabouts?
That's probably okay.
Right. So all I'm going to do here is say, where are we? Go down here. I'm going to say, open this up in Snapseed. Here's Snapseed here. So now I've opened it in Snapseed. Look, it does what a lot of other apps does, but it does it better. It does it more efficiently. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to hit the tools button here. And in tools, you can see a whole range of things. Now, I'm just going to go into this top one at the top left, tune image. When you go into tune image, it's got brightness. Now, everything in Snapseed is done with one finger. Either you do your finger left and right or your finger up and down. So we're in brightness. If I drag it down, whoops, sorry, if I go left and right, I should say, I'm going to make that brighter or I'm going to make that darker, right? Righto. But also by going up and down, I can change contrast, saturation. So in saturation, I now go right and it increases the saturation, or I go left and I decrease the saturation so it's black and white. Okay. Now, I want to show you my favorite tool, and that's this one here called Drama. So Drama, I don't know if you would like to be a drama queen or king. Drama, what it does is it's so clever. It fills in information where you've lost information in the highlights and in the shadows. Now, Des has exposed that pretty well, but I'm going to go into Drama.
Where's drama, sorry?
It's
Is that
in
in
tools.
tools?
Yes,
It's in tools.
It's in tools.
It's in tools. It's about 3/4 of the way to
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got it?
Got it, yeah.
So in Drama, you've either got normal drama, drama 1, drama 2, bright 1, 2, and dark 1, 2. So I'm just going to go into normal drama. Can you see how much extra information that's given us? Now, once again, filter strength is 90. So if we drag this to the left, we're getting less information. If we drag it to the right, we're getting more information and it's increasing sharpness. So Drama is a fabulous feature on this. Also, I'm just going to see if I can find an image where there is something wrong with it. Oh, look, see in this image here, see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's that little bit of interference that's coming in, just in there. I'm not sure what it is. All right, so we're going to go into Snapseed and I'm going to get rid of it. So if you go into Snapseed, go into Tools and go into Healing, the Band-Aid tool. So you go into Healing and all I use is my finger and run over the top of that and it's removed it.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
How cool is that?
So you can fix up a whole lot of errors. That telegraph pole that was in the top left-hand corner, you can make vanish just like that.
So
That's-
does it infill the pixels from what's around it?
That's it.
Filling that
Yeah,
gap?
that's it. That's it.
Wow.
Now, what I'm going to do is every Friday I publish, I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now, I publish a photograph called Photoshop Free Friday because I'm a bit of an anti-Photoshop person for people that resort to it too much. So anyway, so this is the one that I published yesterday and you can see here, so that looks like I've played around with it in Photoshop, but I haven't. That's straight out of my mobile phone. And that's simply by, it's in South Fremantle, I put my camera down at worm's eye level and I tried to shoot directly into the sun. And as soon as you start disobeying the rules and shooting into the sun. Now, what I was going to suggest here, if I went and put that into Snapseed, I could say, right, where's my hero? Well, I want those two little buddies there to be my hero. So I'm going to go to Tools and I'm going to go to Selective and I'm going to select those. And did you notice that I've now got a selection on my heroes? I'm going to increase the brightness on those. And you'll notice now that they're much brighter than the rest of the picture. So that means that they're going to stand out more in the image.
Never. I love it.
So that's enough for Snapseed. I'd really love you all to download Snapseed and to practice with it. Truly, it's very, very easy to learn. Very, very easy to learn. And as I said, it's free, and you won't get any ads with it. So they're a good corporate citizen, the people that are running Snapseed.
How do you import your photo into Snapseed though?
That is where the iPhone, the Snapseed, you have to actually go into, you have to actually import it into Snapseed, whereas with the Galaxy, you can just click on it and then go down and choose Snapseed. So do you want me to demonstrate that on? Have you got time? Okay, I'll just show you here. If I go into photos, let's say that photo there. Okay, so I want that one. I have to actually go into the Snapseed app, which is there, and then I go tap anywhere, and I open from device, and I can choose the photo I want, which is this one here, and there it is. Okay, and then I can go and do those looks. I can do the tools. So that's how you do it. You actually open Snapseed first. Okay, and then you go into open. So open from device.
With
Samsung
there.
Saves it automatically.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, no, sorry. What you have to then do is once you've done it, you do the edit. Let's say let's go for drama. I won't change it, but that's the drama there. You click on it, that's plus, so it's done that. And then you export. So you save a copy, or export to have a completely separate file that you can save somewhere else. So, okay.
Can I just mention, if you've taken a photograph, you should try, and it's a good photograph, you should try never to work on the original. Okay, because then if you stuff it up, you've lost it. So always make a copy, work on the copy, and that's
save a copy. When you go to do it, or export, save a copy or export, and you'll retain the original.
In regards to that, with most of the photography apps on iPhone, I know when you work on them, they do save them as a separate file. They don't touch the one that's in your actual photo album. It takes only the one that you've imported.
Oh, that's good.
Into the actual app.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
I think if you are using it in Snapseed, or if you're using it in Photoshop Express or Lightroom or any of those apps, you will find you're not actually going to be affecting the original. And if you do alter any of the imagery in the actual iPhoto app, to the original.
Okay. Look, no, you're dead right. And most of them do that. They save them as a separate file. However, there are a few apps around that can save over the top.
Can I just say one thing? I'll ask this more as a question. When I look at it and it says save, this is in Snapseed. It says saves with changes that you can undo. iOS will ask for permission to modify the photo. So you can undo the photos. Whereas save a copy creates a copy with changes that you can undo, and export creates a copy with permanent changes. So there's the difference there. That makes sense.
Where does it save the copy to?
Into a folder called Snapseed. Yep. So if you go into your photographs and into albums, it should be there in albums. Look, what I'm just going to mention, that on the second page of your handouts, there's a URL link there that will take you through to analysis comparing iPhones and Samsungs, and it's incredibly detailed. It's about 15 or 16 pages, but it's really worthwhile. Needless to say, they are both great phones. Okay, your images probably aren't being sent to Beijing, which is good. And but it does mean that when you go to choose a new phone, you may want to look at something like that if you're in the business of a new phone and working out what's going to be best suited to you.
And they change so often. They seem to, every time there's a new model and planned obsolescence. So it's good to do your research.
Okay, well, are we just about right to wrap up?
Yes, wrap up, please.
Okay, so look.
Can I just make it say thank you on behalf of all of us watchers. It's been very informative, and Dale and Des and John and Darren, it's been amazing. I use the phone all the time, and if you can take one thing away from a little session like this, it's 100%, but I've got lots of new hints, so I'm very appreciative. Thank you so much.
Thank
Pleasure.
you. I recognise your
Pleasure.
voice.
Yeah.
Oh, look, this isn't so much a personal plug, but that's my telephone number. So I'm not looking for a date. What I'm saying though, if you take a photograph in the garden, please don't send me like 37 photographs. But if you've got one that either you think is really good and you'd like some tips about it, or that you've made a huge mistake somewhere and you don't know what's wrong, that it's upside down.
No.
Okay.
Don't worry, that's their.
That's right. Then you can, that will go to my phone, and it means that I'll just have a look. So just send me a small JPEG and say, Dale, what happened here? I stuffed up. It's all gone purple, or it's overexposed, or whatever else. Look, Darren and John and the team that are here, nobody's gone to sleep there.
You should
No.
turn it around, show this here.
And can I thank all the people watching from over east? We're a COVID-free organisation here, and I had to.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, Darren made me walk through a footbath as I came into the house, and but we've enjoyed ourselves, and thank you very much, Des, my wingman, and I wish you well with your photography, and hopefully we might be able to meet up again some other time. And can I just mention, we've done stills today, but Des is a bit of a guru in video on mobile phones, so that could be something else.
I think I need to get John in with the sound, John.
Thank you so much, Dale. There's a lot of things that you spoke about that also are very relevant to if you're filming and doing video on iPhones and Galaxies as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, my daughter's just had a little accident. Careful, sweetheart. Don't touch anything. Yes, I just want to say thanks. And yeah, with a lot of the things, the suggestions you made in the sheet that you sent out to us, they can also be used also with filming as well. The other thing
Absolutely.
is with filming, just make sure your phone's on airplane mode and you don't have Wi-Fi calling on, because that is like the worst thing that can happen when you're filming and you get a phone call and everything gets disrupted.
Which is exactly why my voice command wasn't working. I changed the settings, so I'm sorry about that. But for those here, I'll show you how to do that.
But thank you very much for your time and going through that.
Okay, I'm just going to say thank you and goodbye. We're going to go because we're going to have coffee, and now we're going to have some practical time with Dale and Des.
So thank you, Zoomers.
Thank you.
Zoomers, a bit like
Oh,
zombies.
thank you, Zoomers.
A bit like zombies. They're here, but they're not really here.
Okay.
But they're Zoomers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.